The rain came down hard that night, a relentless curtain of cold that blurred the edges of the world. The streets of Seattle gleamed like liquid glass under the flickering streetlights, and the air smelled of oil, metal, and loneliness. Hunched behind Murphy's diner, a tiny figure sifted through a dented trash bin, her small hands red from the cold. Lily was 8 years old but looked younger, thin, pale, her golden hair plastered to her face. She moved with quiet precision, the way only someone who had learned to survive without being seen could move. Her fingers closed around a half-eaten sandwich, soggy but still edible. She tore away the worst of the bread and bit into what was left. It wasn't hunger that made her eat quickly. It was fear. The alley had rules, and one of them was simple: never stay in one place long enough to be noticed. Thunder rolled overhead, echoing through the maze of brick walls and rusted fire escapes. Lily pulled her oversized coat tighter around her shoulders and ducked beneath a piece of cardboard propped against the wall. She told herself she'd rest for a few minutes before moving on. But then, through the rhythm of the rain, she heard something. A sound so faint it could have been mistaken for the wind. It came again, sharper this time. A cry. Lily froze. It wasn't the cry of a cat or a drunk stumbling home. It was human. A boy's voice, broken, trembling. She held her breath, straining to listen. "Please, don't hurt me." The words sliced through the rain. For a heartbeat, Lily thought about ignoring it. People who cried for help in the alleys often brought trouble. You didn't survive 2 years on the streets by playing hero. But there was something in that voice, something raw and terrified that reached deep into the part of her that still remembered what it felt like to need saving. Slowly, she crept toward the sound. The rain stung her face, trickling down her neck as she peered around the corner. A boy, maybe 12 or 13, was dragging himself across the slick pavement. His jeans were torn, his shirt soaked through, his hair plastered to his forehead. He looked like he'd crawled straight out of a nightmare. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut, and his legs. Lily's stomach twisted. They didn't move right. When he saw her, he flinched and tried to crawl backward, his hands slipping on the wet ground. "No, please, don't. Hey," Lily whispered, raising her hands, palms out. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." He shook his head violently. "They'll come back," he gasped. "They always come back." Lily took a step closer, heart pounding. Who'll come back?" The boy didn't answer. His eyes darted around the alley as if expecting monsters to appear from the shadows. "Look," she said softly. "You need to get out of the rain. I know a place. It's dry, safe kinda." He hesitated, his breath coming in short, painful gasps. For a long moment he just stared at her, as if trying to decide whether she was real. Then slowly he nodded. Lily moved to his side and crouched. "Put your arm around me. I'll help you up." He tried, wincing as she pulled him to his feet. He was taller, heavier, but weak. Each step made him groan in pain. She half-dragged, half-carried him down the alley, her small body trembling from the effort. The world around them blurred into streaks of rain and darkness. Somewhere far off, a siren wailed, cutting through the storm. Lily's heart skipped. It could have been an ambulance. Or it could have been them, the people the boy feared. "Just a little further," she whispered. "Almost there." They turned down a narrow passage behind a boarded-up office building. Lily pried open a loose panel of wood and helped him inside. The air was cold and smelled of dust and rust, but it was dry. She guided him behind a fallen filing cabinet, where a thin blanket and a few cans of food marked her secret world. The boy collapsed onto the floor, shivering. In the dim light from the cracked window, Lily finally saw the glint of something around his neck. A broken gold pendant, smeared with dirt, the letters MC engraved into it. She wanted to ask what it meant, but his eyes were already closing. His lips moved in a whisper she barely caught. "Don't let them find me." Lily pulled the blanket over him, her own small hands shaking. "I won't," she promised. Outside, the sirens grew louder, echoing through the rain-soaked streets. And for the first time in a long while, Lily was afraid. Not for herself, but for someone else. The night hadn't quieted when Lily woke to the sound of thunder shaking the cracked windows. For a moment she forgot she wasn't alone. Then she saw him, the boy, curled up beneath her threadbare blanket, his face pale and glistening with fever. The color had drained from his lips and his chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. The rain had slowed, but the wind moaned through the gaps in the walls like a warning. Lily sat cross-legged beside him, unsure what to do. She had no medicine, no real food, just a can of soup, a bottle of half-warm water, and a heart that refused to look away. She reached out to touch his forehead. He was burning up. She bit her lip. "Hey," she whispered, shaking him gently. "You gotta wake up." His eyelids fluttered open, confusion clouding the storm blue of his eyes. He stared at her like he was trying to remember if she was friend or foe. Then pain twisted across his face and a choked groan escaped his throat. "You've got a fever," she said. "You need water." He nodded weakly. She lifted the bottle to his lips. He drank in small sips, each swallow trembling through him. When he finished, he looked away, ashamed somehow, as though needing help was something to apologize for. "Thanks," he murmured, his voice rough as gravel. "I didn't think anyone would help me." Lily shrugged, pretending she didn't care. "I don't usually," she said. "People out here, most of them would sell you for $1. The boy gave a small, broken laugh that quickly turned into a cough. "Guess I got lucky." For a while they sat in silence, the rain whispering on the windows. The flicker of a distant siren faded into the night. Lily studied him in the weak light. His hands were bruised, the skin on his wrists rubbed raw as if he'd been tied up. Her stomach twisted at the thought. "What's your name?" she asked quietly. He hesitated. "Max," she nodded. "I'm Lily." Max's gaze drifted toward the corner of the room where shadows clung to the walls. His expression shifted, fear creeping back into his eyes. "Lily," he said slowly, "you shouldn't have helped me." Her brow furrowed. "Why? They'll come looking." "They always come looking." The air in the room seemed to tighten. Lily leaned closer. "Who are they?" He swallowed hard, his hands trembling. "The men. They work for him. For the one who—" He stopped, pressing his lips together like the words might hurt more than the bruises. Lily waited, but he wouldn't say another word. She sighed and pulled her knees to her chest. "You're safe here," she said finally. "Nobody comes up here except me." But even as she said it, a strange feeling gnawed at her, an instinct she'd learned to trust. Something about this boy didn't fit the usual kind of street danger. He wasn't just running from bad luck or an angry parent. This was bigger, darker. Later, when the rain eased to a mist, Lily slipped out to find more supplies. The streets were slick, the air heavy with the scent of gasoline and damp paper. A news truck rolled by, its logo catching her eye. She ducked behind a trash bin as the reporter's voice carried faintly through the static of the radio, inside a nearby car. 6 months since the mysterious disappearance of Maxwell Carter, son of billionaire CEO Richard Carter of Carter Industries. The family continues to offer a $5 million reward for any information. Lily's heart stopped. Maxwell Carter, MC, the initials on the gold pendant. She turned back toward the alley, her breath fogging in the air. The boy in her hideout wasn't just another lost kid, he was the missing heir to a fortune. But that didn't make sense. If he was the CEO's son, who had hurt him? Why was he terrified of being found? She felt eyes on her. The prickling on the back of her neck was unmistakable. Someone was watching. She scanned the street and saw a dark sedan idling at the corner. Its headlights were off, but the faint red glow of a cigarette pulsed inside. Lily ducked lower, heart hammering. She'd lived too long in the shadows not to recognize danger when it watched her. Whoever those men were, they weren't reporters. They were hunting. She waited until the car rolled away before bolting back toward her building, feet splashing through puddles. When she reached the broken panel, she slipped inside, breathless. Max was awake now, sitting up despite his pain. His eyes widened when he saw her. "They were out there, weren't they?" he whispered. Lily hesitated. "Who?" "The men," he said, voice shaking. "The ones that kept me locked up. The ones that broke my legs." For a long moment, only the wind answered. Lily's throat went dry. "Max," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why would anyone do that to you?" He looked at her, a tear tracing down his bruised cheek. "Because I found out something I wasn't supposed to. And now they'll do anything to keep me quiet." Lightning flashed through the window, painting the room in white for a single terrifying instant. In that flash, Lily saw the truth in his eyes, pure, unfiltered fear. Outside, the same sedan pulled up again at the curb. 2 silhouettes stepped out, umbrellas gleaming black under the streetlight. And for the first time since she'd been on the streets, Lily felt something colder than the rain slide down her spine. Fate catching up. Morning crept into the abandoned building like a secret, soft and uncertain. The rain had quieted to a whisper, dripping through cracks in the ceiling, tracing paths down the faded wallpaper. Lily hadn't slept. She sat against the cold wall, her chin resting on her knees, watching Max breathe. He looked different in daylight, less like a ghost, more like a boy who might have once had a home, a bed, people who waited for him. His hair was a mess of gold and brown, his skin pale but clean where she'd wiped away the blood. The gold pendant around his neck glimmered faintly in the weak light, the initials MC catching her eye again. She wanted to ask about it. She wanted to ask everything. But she knew pushing him too soon might break him all over again. When Max stirred, she quickly sat up. He blinked at her as if trying to remember where he was. Then, like the weight of it all came crashing back, he exhaled shakily. "They're still out there, aren't they?" he murmured. Lily nodded. "I saw a car last night, black, no plates." Max's eyes darkened. "That's them," she hesitated. "Why would they want you, Max? If you're the boy on the news, shouldn't the police be looking for you?" "They are," he said softly. "But they're not the only ones." He ran a trembling hand over his face. "My father's company, it's not just offices and meetings. There are people, powerful people who wanted something from him. When they couldn't get it, they took me instead." Lily frowned. "To hurt your dad?" Max's eyes met hers. "To control him." The words hung in the air, heavy and impossible. Lily couldn't imagine being important enough for anyone to want to control. To her, power was something that only existed in other people's worlds. She was just a girl who'd learned to survive in the cracks of the city, but now somehow she was caught between those worlds, between the broken streets and the glittering towers of people like Max's father. "I can't go back," he said suddenly, his voice shaking. "They'll twist it. They'll say I ran away, that I'm sick, confused. They'll make me disappear again. Not if I help you," Lily said. The words left her before she could think. He looked at her, really looked, as if trying to see whether she meant it. "You'd do that for me?" "I told you," she said quietly. "Nobody helped me when I needed it, so I help people now." For a long moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the soft patter of rain. Then Max reached into the pocket of his torn jacket and pulled something out, a crumpled piece of paper, edges soaked and blurred. "It's all I have left from before," he whispered. Lily unfolded it carefully. It was a photograph, faded, bent, but still clear enough to see 3 faces. A man in a suit with kind eyes, a woman with the same smile as Max, and between them a boy in a school uniform, laughing. "That's you," Lily said softly. Max nodded. "It was taken a few days before I disappeared." His gaze dropped to his lap. "I don't even know if my mom's alive. She was with me when they took us. They said she didn't make it out." Lily's throat tightened. She wanted to say something comforting, but what comfort could she offer someone who'd lost everything? So she did the only thing she could. She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, long, rising, then fading again. Max flinched, instinctively reaching for her hand. "It's okay," Lily said quickly. "They won't find us here." But even as she said it, her stomach churned. The streets had eyes and word traveled fast. She knew that much. If people were being paid to find the missing Carter boy, someone would talk. She stood and crossed to the broken window. Through the cracked glass, she could see the city waking. Gray sky, steam rising from vents, buses groaning along slick streets. But beneath the ordinary hum of morning, she felt something else. Movement. 2 men in dark coats stood by the corner, scanning the buildings. One held a photo. The other spoke into a phone. Lily's breath hitched. Max followed her gaze. "It's them," he whispered. "We have to go." "Go where?" He looked at her, desperation flickering like lightning in his eyes. "Somewhere no one thinks to look." Lily grabbed her threadbare backpack, stuffing in what little she had. A blanket, the soup can, the last of her water. Max tried to stand but stumbled, his legs shaking. She caught him before he fell. "I can't run fast," he said bitterly. "Then we don't run," she replied, her voice steady. "We hide smarter." Outside, a door slammed. Footsteps echoed through the alley. Lily's pulse thundered in her ears. She helped Max toward the back stairwell, every sound magnified. The creak of the floorboards, the scrape of his shoe, her ragged breathing. As they reached the bottom, she heard a voice upstairs. "He was spotted near here last night." Check every floor, Lily's heart stopped. She pushed open a rusted door leading into a narrow maintenance tunnel. The air smelled of rust and damp earth. Come on, she whispered. Stay quiet. They slipped into the darkness just as the footsteps reached the upper level. Behind them, a flashlight beam cut through the dust, sweeping across the room they had just left. The light paused for a moment. On the blanket, the half-empty bottle of water, and the faint imprint of two small figures pressed into the dust. Found something, a man's voice muttered, and then the sound of boots descending the stairs. Lily tightened her grip on Max's hand and pulled him deeper into the tunnel. Neither of them spoke. Neither dared to breathe, but in the silence Max's whisper trembled like a prayer. Lily, and if they catch us, don't let them take me back. She didn't answer. She just squeezed his hand and kept moving forward into the dark. The tunnel smelled of iron and rain. Water dripped from unseen pipes, each drop echoing like a ticking clock. Lily held Max's hand as they moved deeper, her flashlight flickering over crumbling concrete and faded graffiti. The air grew colder the farther they went, and the world above them, the city, the sirens, the men searching, faded into silence. Are you sure this goes somewhere? Max whispered. His voice bounced off the walls, small and uncertain. Yeah, Lily said, though she wasn't sure at all. It used to lead to the old train yards. Nobody goes there anymore. The beam of her flashlight wavered across an old map bolted to the wall, its corners curling with age. The lines and labels had faded, but Lily's eyes traced the faint shapes of the tunnels branching beneath the city like veins. Somewhere in this maze there had to be an exit. They kept walking. Max limped heavily, leaning against the wall for balance. His breathing grew ragged, and Lily could feel the tremor in his hand. She slowed her pace. You okay? I will be, he said. But his eyes betrayed him. Fear had settled there like a shadow that refused to leave. When they finally stopped to rest, Lily turned off the flashlight. Darkness folded around them, deep, almost alive. She could hear the faint hum of electricity far above, the pulse of the sleeping city. Max, she whispered, I need you to tell me something. Who are those men? He hesitated, then sighed. They used to work for my dad. Security people. But after my mom disappeared, things got weird. Dad stopped talking to the press, stopped going to the office. Then new people showed up, people I didn't recognize. And then one day I was gone. Gone how? They said it was for my safety. He let out a bitter laugh. But safety doesn't mean being locked in a basement with the windows boarded up. They told me my dad knew. That he agreed to it, but his voice trailed off. I don't think he did. Lily frowned, turning the words over in her mind. So someone inside your dad's company? He nodded. Someone powerful? The one who handled all the big deals. Ethan Cole. The name hung in the air, heavy as the dark. Lily didn't know the name, but the way Max said it, low, almost afraid, made her skin prickle. You think he's the one chasing you now? Max hesitated. I don't think... I know. A noise behind them made them both freeze, the faint metallic clang of a door far down the tunnel. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate. Lily's pulse leapt. She grabbed Max's arm and pulled him toward a side passage barely wide enough for the two of them. They squeezed through, the air turning damp and cold. Her flashlight flickered again, dimming to a sickly glow before dying completely. Lily? Max whispered. Shh. She listened, one hand on the wall, one clutching his sleeve. The footsteps grew closer, then paused. The silence that followed was worse than the sound itself. She could hear the faint rasp of someone breathing just beyond the wall. Then, a voice deep and muffled. He's down here somewhere. Check the junctions. He won't get far. Lily's stomach tightened. They were boxed in, unless she found another way out. Her fingers brushed against something cold, a metal hatch half buried in the grime. She knelt and tugged. It wouldn't budge. Max joined her, grimacing through the pain. Together they pulled until it groaned open, revealing a ladder descending into black water below. Go, Lily whispered. I can't. You have to. Max swallowed hard and climbed down first, his movements slow and shaky. Lily followed, closing the hatch just as the beam of a flashlight swept across the tunnel above. The ladder led them into an underground reservoir, wide, echoing, half-flooded. Their reflections shimmered in the still water, fractured by ripples. The air was cold enough to bite. Max leaned against the wall, panting. How do you know where we're going? I don't, Lily said. But I know where we aren't going. Back. A small, sad smile ghosted across his face. You're braver than most grown-ups. Brave is just another word for having no choice, she said. They walked along the narrow edge of the reservoir until they reached another tunnel, narrower but dry. Lily noticed faded symbols on the walls, strange markings that looked official. Carter Industries Maintenance Access. Her pulse quickened. Max, she whispered, pointing. Your dad's company. What if these tunnels belong to them? He looked at the wall, realization dawning in his eyes. Then whoever's chasing us knows about them too. Lily stared into the darkness ahead, thinking fast. Maybe. But if these tunnels connect to the company buildings, we might find proof. Something to show your dad what really happened. He hesitated, torn between fear and hope. Then he nodded. Okay, let's find it. They started walking again, deeper into the tunnels that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of the city. Behind them, faint echoes followed. Maybe water, maybe footsteps. Neither dared to look back. When they reached a metal door marked Authorized Personnel Only, Lily tried the handle. It was locked but loose. She pried at it with a broken pipe until it clicked open. Beyond the door was a stairwell leading upward, and the faint hum of machines. Lily and Max exchanged a look. Whatever's up there, Lily whispered. It's part of the truth. As they climbed, the hum grew louder, a low electric murmur that felt alive. Then Lily froze halfway up the stairs. There was light ahead and voices. The CEO's son's disappearance must remain confidential, a man was saying, until Mr. Cole gives the order. Lily's hand flew to her mouth. She turned to Max. His eyes were wide, terrified, but in them there was also something new. Determination. He nodded. We're not running anymore, he whispered. We're finding out why. Outside thunder rolled once more, shaking the walls of the city above them, as if even the storm knew something was about to break. The stairwell opened into a world that didn't belong beneath a city. Fluorescent lights hummed above, reflecting off white tile floors and glass panels. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant and metal, clean but wrong, the kind of clean that tries to hide something. Lily blinked against the brightness after hours in the tunnels. Max steadied himself on the rail, his legs trembling but his eyes sharp with sudden alertness. This is part of my father's company, he murmured. I've seen hallways like this before, just not underground. Lily glanced around. The place looked like a lab mixed with an office. Long corridors, sealed doors, humming machines. Somewhere nearby, the low thrum of generators pulsed like a mechanical heartbeat. She touched his arm. If this is Carter Industries, why would they build something down here? What could they be hiding? Max didn't answer. His jaw tightened, and for the first time, Lily saw anger flicker beneath his fear. They crept forward. The building felt empty, but not abandoned. Papers sat neatly on desks. Monitors glowed with data streams, coffee cups half full beside keyboards. As if the people who worked here had just stepped out and might return any second. When they turned a corner, they found a wall lined with photos, framed portraits of executives and scientists. Lily slowed, scanning the faces. Richard Carter's photo sat in the center, smiling in a gray suit. But beside him was another man, older, dark-haired, sharp eyes that seemed to follow her wherever she moved. Ethan Cole, Max whispered. Lily's stomach tightened. The name she'd heard in the tunnels. Max stared at the picture for a long time. He was my dad's partner. Everyone said he was brilliant, the one who made the company's tech what it is. But he wanted more. He always did. They moved on down a narrower hall lined with security doors. The hum of machines grew louder. One door was marked Project Umbra, restricted access. Lily traced the letters with her finger. Umbra means shadow, right? Yeah, Max said. I think it was a security project. Something about digital surveillance. My dad once said Cole wanted to expand it beyond legal limits. He looked at her, realization dawning. Lily, this might be why I was taken. I saw something. I must have. Before Lily could respond, they heard voices and faint but getting closer. Cole's orders. Sweep the sublevel again. The boy's alive. The CEO's offering too much money to risk mistakes. Lily grabbed Max's hand and ducked into a side room. It was small and dim, filled with file cabinets and old screens flickering faintly. The door didn't lock, so she pulled it nearly shut and pressed her ear against the crack. Footsteps passed. 2, maybe 3 people. Boots on tile, radios clicking softly. Then silence. Max leaned against the wall, exhaling shakily. "They're looking for me." "For us." Lily nodded, eyes scanning the room. Her flashlight beam landed on a metal box labeled Archives. Confidential. She tugged it open. Inside were stacks of folders stamped with the Carter Industries logo. She flipped one open. Inside were photos, grainy stills from security cameras showing Max in what looked like a laboratory room, strapped to a chair, his eyes wide with confusion. In the corner of each photo was the same code, Project Umbra. Subject M. Max's face went pale. "They experimented on me." Lily's breath caught. "But why? You're just a kid." "I must have seen something I wasn't supposed to." His voice trembled, but he forced himself to keep speaking. "Cole said he could use Umbra to predict behavior, control data, control people. My dad didn't agree, so Cole took me to make him comply." Lily felt sick. The idea that someone could do this, not to a stranger but to a child, was beyond cruelty. "We need to show this to your dad," she said. Max shook his head. "We can't. If we go to him directly, Cole will spin it. He's got people everywhere, even in the police." Lily's mind raced. "Then we find another way. Someone who'll listen." She stuffed the files into her backpack. Just as she zipped it, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. But through the vent near the ceiling, she heard a soft whirring sound. Max's face drained of color. "That's the surveillance system. Cole's watching us." Lily looked up at the camera mounted in the corner, a tiny black lens glinting in the fluorescent light. For a moment it was still. Then it turned smoothly until it faced them. Her pulse roared in her ears. "Run!" They burst from the room, the sound of alarms blaring behind them. Red lights strobed through the hallways. Somewhere, an automated voice announced, "Security breach. Sub-level lockdown initiated." Doors began to seal around them, metal panels sliding shut with heavy thuds. Lily pulled Max toward the nearest staircase. They sprinted upward, the echo of their footsteps drowned by sirens. "Up there!" a voice shouted. Lily didn't look back. They reached a landing, burst through a maintenance door and stumbled into a dim service corridor. A cold draft blew in from somewhere ahead, a way out. But before they reached it, a voice crackled over a speaker in the wall. Calm, composed, unmistakable. "Maxwell," it said. Max froze. The voice continued. "You should have stayed where you were safe. Now you're forcing me to clean up a mess that could have been avoided." "Ethan Cole," Max whispered. Lily stared at the speaker, her fists clenched. "What do you want from him?" she shouted. Cole's voice almost sounded amused. "Only what was promised. His father's cooperation. You shouldn't involve yourself, girl. You don't know what this is." Lily's heart pounded, but her voice didn't shake. "I know enough. And I know we're not stopping." There was a pause. Then the speaker crackled again, quieter, colder. "You won't get far." The line went dead. For a moment, the only sound was the distant hum of the city above and Max's uneven breathing. "Lily," he said softly, "we have to tell my dad the truth before Cole does." Lily nodded. "Then we find him. We go above ground. Tonight." Outside, through the narrow cracks in the ceiling grates, the faintest hint of dawn crept into the tunnels. The city didn't know it yet, but its shadows were about to break open, and 2 children were the ones holding the light. The city above them was waking, but Lily and Max moved through its forgotten veins, the narrow service tunnels that ran beneath old buildings and broken streets. The sirens had faded, replaced by the hum of traffic and the muffled chatter of morning commuters who would never imagine that 2 children had just escaped the bowels of one of Seattle's most powerful corporations when they finally emerged through a rusted grate behind a row of shuttered shops. Lily blinked against the light. The air was damp with fog and smelled faintly of salt from the nearby harbor. For a moment she just breathed in and out, the sky pale and cold above them. Max leaned against the wall, clutching his ribs. "We can't stay out in the open," Lily nodded. "I know a place." Her place was a small storage room behind an abandoned bookstore near Pike Street. She'd used it before, a safe stop when the nights were too cold. They slipped inside through a warped door, and Lily pulled down the blinds. Dust floated in the slanting light. For the first time since the tunnels, They were still. Lily rummaged through her pack, laying out the stolen files, the ones stamped with Project Umbra. The words still made her uneasy. So this is what they were doing to you? Max nodded, grimacing. Umbra was supposed to be a system for predictive analysis, tracking global communication trends, identifying risks before they happened. But Cole wanted to take it further. Human testing, mind pattern recognition. Mind pattern what? He said if you feed enough data into the system, you could predict people's decisions before they made them. Even manipulate them. He rubbed his temples. My dad thought it was just theory work, until Cole used me. Lily looked down at the files again, her brow furrowing. The documents were filled with numbers, charts, and test results. But something strange caught her eye. A signature scrawled at the bottom of one page. Dr. Alara Finch. Who's she? Max leaned over. One of the senior engineers. She disappeared after the project was shut down. Or supposed to be shut down. Lily's heart raced. What if she didn't disappear? What if she ran? And maybe she knows how to stop Cole, Max said slowly. Lily pulled out another sheet. It listed a contact address, a clinic on the city's north side. Her finger trembled as she pointed. That's only a few miles from here, Max frowned. It could be old, or it could be all we have. They decided to rest for a few hours before setting out. Max's injuries needed time. Lily made a small nest from torn blankets while he dozed. As she sat by the window watching fog crawl along the glass, her eyes fell again on one of the folders. Employee record, Carter, Lillian M. Her chest tightened. Lillian. She pulled it closer. The photo was faded but unmistakable. A young woman with soft golden hair, kind eyes, and a faint smile that mirrored Lily's own. The date of birth, the ID number, and then the line that made her breath stop. Deceased. 2017. Lily's voice was barely a whisper. Mom, she read further. Project Umbra Assistant Biotech Division. And at the bottom, status. Terminated following security breach. Her vision blurred. She'd never known her mother. Only flashes of warmth and the smell of rain when she was very small. Her foster parents had said she'd been abandoned. But this file said otherwise. When Max stirred awake, he saw her trembling. Lily, what is it? She handed him the folder wordlessly. He read it, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. Your mother worked for Carter Industries. She died the same year your mom disappeared, Lily said, voice shaking. What if it's connected? Max rubbed his jaw, thinking. Cole's been covering tracks for years. Maybe your mom found out what he was doing and tried to stop him. Lily stared at the floor. And maybe she paid for it. The thought settled like ice in her stomach. They spent the next hour poring through the papers again, fitting together pieces of a puzzle that had been hidden for years. Lily noticed something else in the documents. A series of encrypted emails between Cole and another department labeled Neural Adaptation Testing. Attached was a list of test subjects. Max's name was there. And so was another, L. Finch. Alara Finch, Lily whispered. She was a subject too. So she didn't just work on the project, Max said. She was part of it, which means if she's alive, she knows everything. They looked at each other, two children bound not by chance, but by a shared thread of betrayal and buried truth. As evening fell, Lily helped Max to his feet. They stepped out into the alley, the sky burning gold over the city. Somewhere behind those glass towers, Ethan Cole sat in his high-rise office, unaware that the ghosts he'd tried to bury were rising. A bus rumbled past. Lily pulled her hood low. We find Dr. Finch, she said. Then we find your dad. Max nodded. And when we do, Cole won't have anywhere left to hide. But as they crossed the street, a reflection in a storefront window made Lily stop cold. A black car idled at the curb. In the driver's seat, a man in a dark suit lifted a phone to his ear, eyes fixed on them through the glass. Max followed her gaze. He's one of Cole's. Keep walking, she whispered. They didn't run. Not yet. But the city suddenly felt smaller, the air thinner. Somewhere in the distance, the faint wail of a siren began to rise again, echoing between the buildings like the memory of a storm that never really ended. And as they disappeared into the crowd, Lily reached into her pocket and felt the cold metal of the pendant she'd found earlier, the one that had fallen from Max's neck. The engraved initials caught the light. MC. But behind them, faintly etched as if scratched in later, were two smaller letters she'd never noticed before. LC. Her breath caught. Two names. Two families. One secret that connected them both. And for the first time, Lily realized this wasn't just Max's story anymore. It was hers too. The wind off Puget Sound smelled of rain and iron as dusk settled over Seattle again. Lily and Max stood on the edge of the city's North District, watching the lights flicker to life along the harbor. Between warehouses and old docks stood a narrow brick building with a faded sign, Finch Medical Research, closed for renovation. Lily glanced at Max. This is it. Max adjusted the sling around his arm, his voice quiet but steady. If Dr. Finch is still here, she's our last chance. They pushed the door open. It creaked, the sound swallowed by the emptiness beyond. The inside smelled of dust and salt. Shelves stood half empty, papers strewn across tables as if someone had left in a hurry. Hello? Lily called. Dr. Finch? For a long moment, nothing. Then from behind a curtain, a shadow moved. A woman stepped out, tall, silver-haired, her face lined with exhaustion. Her eyes, sharp and clear, froze on Max. You're Richard Carter's boy, Max nodded. You worked for him. Her gaze flicked to Lily and something unreadable crossed her face. And you have her eyes. Lily's throat tightened. My mother's? Dr. Finch hesitated, then motioned for them to sit. I knew Lillian. She was one of the few who believed Umbra could still be used for good. When she found out what Cole was doing, the human trials, the manipulation, she tried to warn your father. She paused. She paid for it with her life. The words hit like a blow. Lily pressed her hands together, fighting the tremor in her voice. So it's true. She worked for them. And Cole framed her, Dr. Finch said. And your father never knew you survived. Lily blinked, confused. My father? Dr. Finch looked between them. Richard Carter is your father too, Lily. The room seemed to tilt. Max's mouth fell open. What? Dr. Finch nodded slowly. He never knew Lillian was pregnant when she left the project. She hid you, fearing Cole would use you the same way he used Max. Lily's heart pounded. You're saying, Max and I, half-siblings, Dr. Finch finished softly. Both of you victims of the same man. The silence that followed was thick, broken only by the distant drip of rain from a pipe. Max turned to Lily, a dozen emotions flickering in his eyes. Shock, disbelief, something like awe. We're family, he whispered. Lily didn't know what to say. The word felt strange and wonderful all at once. Family. Dr. Finch went to an old filing cabinet and pulled out a hard drive, wrapped in plastic. This contains everything Cole's tried to hide, recordings, test data, financial transactions. If you bring this to your father, he'll have the proof to bring Cole down for good. A crash echoed from the hall. They all froze. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Dr. Finch's expression hardened. He found us. Cole's voice came from the shadows before his figure emerged. Immaculate suit, calm smile. You've caused quite the mess, Dr. Finch. His gaze slid to the children. And you two, you should have stayed in the dark. Lily stepped in front of Max. Her hands were shaking, but her voice wasn't. You took enough from us. You don't get to take anything else, Cole smiled thinly. You think you can stop me? Dr. Finch lifted a small transmitter. You already have. A soft click, then a distant hum, and suddenly every monitor in the room flickered to life. Surveillance feeds, data logs, video files, all of it streaming to the cloud. Cole's calm cracked. What did you do? I uploaded Umbra's truth, Finch said. To every news outlet and government server in the country. By now your name is already attached to crimes you can't erase. Cole lunged forward, but Max shouted, Stop! Police sirens wailed outside, loud, rising, relentless. Flashing lights painted the room blue and red through the broken blinds. Cole froze as voices shouted for him to drop his weapon. Dr. Finch lowered the transmitter, breathing hard. It's over. Cole glared at the children, at the proof of everything he'd failed to destroy, before officers swarmed in and dragged him away. For a long moment, none of them moved. Then Max sank to his knees, the adrenaline leaving him all at once. Lily knelt beside him and he laughed softly through tears. We actually did it. You did more than that, Dr. Finch said quietly. You ended something that's been poisoning this company for years. Outside, Dawn began to break, thin rays of light spilling through the windows. Hours later, in a quiet hospital room overlooking the bay, Richard Carter sat at his son's bedside, and beside him, a girl with golden hair he couldn't stop staring at. He listened as Dr. Finch told him everything. About Lillian, about Lily, about what Cole had done. When she finished, he turned to Lily, his eyes full of tears. "I thought I'd lost both of you." Lily didn't know how to respond. She'd spent so long surviving that she'd forgotten what it felt like to be wanted. But when he opened his arms, she stepped forward without hesitation. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Outside, the sky cleared, sunlight glinting off the wet streets of Seattle. The storm had passed. Later, as Max and Lily stood together by the window watching the city wake, he smiled faintly. "So what happens now?" Lily thought for a moment. "We start over together," he nodded. "No more running." She looked out at the skyline, the towers glowing gold, the harbor alive with light, and felt something bloom in her chest that she hadn't felt since she could remember. Hope. Somewhere deep inside, she could almost hear her mother's voice. "You did it, my brave girl." You found your way home, and for the first time, Lily believed it.